Social media has been around for years, and African Americans use social media more than any other group of people. Not only are they active on social media, but they heavily influence the trends. Many use social media to raise awareness and share important information. The church uses social media to live stream sermons and Bible study. Social media is a useful tool for African Americans in the United States, in the diaspora, and on the continent of Africa. Since we've acknowledged that African Americans have embraced and need social media, my guest, who has been in technology since high school, consulted various government agencies, and held the position of Vice President of Video Services at Verizon, is going to share information with you about his new social media platform. I want to introduce you to Mr. Michael Thompson, Chairman and President of OBT Social. Thank you so much for joining us.
All right. Hey, you're quite welcome. And thank you for inviting me.
It's so good to have you here. I have so many questions for you. But the first question that I want to ask is, how did a young black man become the Vice President at Verizon at 32 years old?
Well, let me just tell you, right, that was an interesting situation. Because it all started because I had a friend, me and him, we worked at this company, right, called Quest LCI. And when we were there, he was a salesperson and I was the engineer that actually had to develop solutions for the things that he sold. So we were outside one day and he was looking at this building across the street and he's looking at it real mean. I'm like, man, why are you looking at this building all mean? So he's like, man, I am so tired of my internet going out, my TV, just everything, all the time. So he's puffing on his cigarette, and look, I don't even smoke or nothing, right? Dead of winter, we outside, freezing, right? But he's looking at the building, smoking. So I said, well, if they do A, B, and C, then they shouldn't have a problem. So then we just stood out there talking, and him still mad and puffing, and almost an hour went by. And I was just writing down ideas. So then at the end of that hour, I said, you know what? I have a solution that will actually work. I'm going to build this thing. And I said, and then when I do, we're going to be 50-50 partners. So he agreed. So I built the thing. Then 60 days later, I had it built. I called him over. He looked at it. And I'm like, since it works, I'm putting in my notice. Are you going to put in yours? So he said, no, I can't do it. So I put in mine and said, well, I own 100%. I said, but I will look out for you if I sell this thing. I said, because it's an if. So he's like, bet. And then 60 days later, I ended up selling it to a company that was trying to be acquired by Bell Atlantic. And they needed something that was unique and different. They needed a differentiator. Because Bell Atlantic said, you guys are good, but you're no different than anybody else. So then they remembered this young guy named Michael Thompson, who is me, called them and emailed them and said, I have this technology that will deliver voice, video, and data across copper lines. So they called me and said, do you really have this? I'm like, yes, I do. They said, can we see it? Yes, you can. He said, when? I'm like, anytime. Just like that. So then we met in, we met in Elmsford, New York. That's where we met. Okay. And we met at a lab. So we went there and I showed them the whole demonstration and everything, and they were totally amazed. And then we did a deal. So once we did the deal, then they went back to Bell Atlantic and said, we got this now. We can deliver voice, video, and data across copper lines. That's a differentiator. And then the deal was done. So then I ended up, as part of the team. And then from that point, it was still called Bell Atlantic, but then shortly thereafter, they said, since we're acquiring all these companies, we need to change our name. And then the name was changed to Verizon. And then I became a vice president there at 32.
Okay, Vice President of Video Services. That is amazing. Over the past few years, you developed OBT Social. Tell us more about OBT Social.
Well, OBT Social. Okay, OBT stands for Our Black Truth. Okay. All right. So, but I had to condense it or shorten it and call it OBT because it offended a lot of people. And when I say a lot of people, like companies and organizations, they were like, oh, it's a black thing and all of that kind of stuff, right? And surprisingly, it even bothered some of our own people just by saying our black truth. So I said, okay, I'm going to see what happens. So anyway, what I did was I decided to build this platform that was all about uplifting our people. It's about educating our people and raising the standard when it comes to social media.
I love that.
Because right now, right, on social media, there's just too much men walking with their pants hanging off, glorifying violence, nude pictures, just everything on social media that we really don't need, right? So we really need to raise the standard, and that's what OBT Social is all about, our black truth. And also, we were being censored so much on these other platforms. So we needed a place where we can tell our own story without being censored, because if we speak about racism, they consider that hate. So then they'll block us, put us in Facebook jail or whatever kind of social media jail they have. That's what they would do with us unjustly, but they won't do it to any other group of people.
Just anything that will have a positive impact on our people, I think, is just so necessary.
Yeah, we need it. We absolutely need it.
Definitely. Is this the first business that you've started?
No, actually, I've been a serial entrepreneur ever since I was a teenager. I used to throw big parties with 600, 700 people, and I was like, man, 15, 16 years old, and I used to rap and all that. I don't seem like a rapper now, but back in the day, hey, the boy was bad. You know what I'm saying?
So just an entrepreneur at heart from the beginning.
Yeah, I've had all kinds of little businesses and stuff like that. I think I've had probably 6 or 7 different businesses. Okay. And so it's been a lot of fun, and I just learned so much from having businesses, and some of them failed. But the thing is, I learned from them, and that's what led me to the success that I have right now with OBT Social.
Okay, great. So how did you get into technology? When did you gain the interest in technology, or when did you first show interest in technology?
Well, actually, I had interest in technology, and I'm gonna, just keeping it real, right? There was this white dude, right, named Jeff. Mm-hmm. Smart guy, right? And he was about a year older than me, and he had a computer, and he would always create these little programs and stuff like that, and I would always be in awe of what he was doing. So then I took it upon myself to buy my own computer, and it wasn't no expensive computer like his, because I didn't have the money, right? Mm-hmm. But I bought a computer and I learned how to use it. So then, I had this thing where I was like, this is not that difficult. So then I needed a job, and this was in 1984. And that's when the phone companies actually split. So when the phone companies split, the local and long distance, I was hired to actually talk to people in their customer service, explaining the divestiture of the local and long distance companies. That was like CMP Telephone at the time and AT&T. So that was my job, but the system kept going out continuously. Whereas the mainframe, which is just, old computer, it would go down. And if that was the case, we could not make phone calls. So what I would do is I would tell them, well, why don't you try A, B, and C? That might get the mainframe working again. And I was able to do that because my friend actually worked in the mainframe department. So he would try it, and when he did it, it worked. The system came back up. So then it went down again. And then he came out and talked to me after they spent time trying to get it up. He said, hey, what do you think the problem is this time? And I said, well, what are the error messages and stuff? So he would tell me. And I would tell him what I thought. He got the thing running again. And then that happened multiple times. So then somebody that was above him asked him, what has changed because you're able to fix this thing so quick now? So then he said, hey, Michael, he's been a big help and all that kind of stuff. So then they took me from customer service to mainframe, and they said, look, we want to move you because you have the skills. And at this point, keep in mind, I'm 16 years old. So I'm just like, okay, customer service, mainframes. I said, I'll take mainframes any day. And they actually doubled my pay to do that. So, from that point, it was on.
So your very first job in technology, your very first job, and they noticed that you were a tech whiz.
Well, actually, that wasn't my first job. My first job was actually painting a barn. Was my first job, really, right?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that was actually my first. It was a summer job, but my first real job was that though.
In
AT&T.
tech. Okay,
right?
at AT&T.
Yep.
You shared so much. There are so many different types of technology. Tell me more about your areas of expertise.
All right, my areas of expertise, actually kind of far and wide. It's weird because I started at AT&T working on the mainframes, computers, and all that kind of stuff. And then from there, I actually went to work for Quantum Computer Services. And Quantum Computer Services, they were located in Vienna, Virginia. And they filed bankruptcy. And my job there was to police bulletin boards, create web servers and news servers. Because news servers were totally separate from web servers and all that kind of stuff then. And then the bulletin board services were the equivalent of chat rooms. Okay. But what they did was they filed bankruptcy and we were laid off for a little while, but then they came back. They gave us our back pay and they said, okay, we changed the company name. I didn't care. I was only like 18 years old, 19 years old at the time. I didn't care. All I wanted was my check. All right, so I had my check in my hand, right? So they said, we changed the company name, and what do you guys think about it? We're going to tell you what the name is. So I'm like, okay, I didn't care. But they said, it's America Online. I was like, that worked. Fine. I like the name. I like the check. Okay. So let's move on, right? So I was there at America Online and then went to work for UU Technologies. And they were located in Fairfax, Virginia. And there's where I received my Microsoft certification, Lucent, Cisco, Fujitsu, Sun Microsystems. Wow, just a whole bunch of different certifications there. And I held the highest certification that you can get in networking at the time, which was a CCIE. And it's still one of the highest and most prestigious that you can get today. And so basically when it comes to technology, anything pertaining to fiber optics, copper, point-to-point wireless, satellite, mobile devices, whether it's CDMA or GSM. So all of that I can bring to bear and build any kind of infrastructure you can think of. And then also I got into radio frequency, radio shielding, and things of that nature. So I understand radiation, radio frequency, the technology used for toll roads, the technology used for touching your phone to like those terminals at stores. So all of that, and then on top of that, I decided to get into software development. So I can do hardware and software. And in addition to that, my areas of expertise also revolves around content. So I can produce content, whether it can be a short form, long form documentary, do some limited animation and, other things. So that all fits in the realm of social media. But when it was happening, as I was learning this, I didn't know anything about social media.
That's incredible. So you do it all.
Yeah, it was a natural evolution, natural fit, for what we're doing today.
Yeah. So you were at the beginning, working with Verizon at the beginning, working with America Online at the beginning. That's incredible. So you started in Seoul, a technology company.
Yeah, I did. Stream Now. That was my streaming company that I actually formed, that I made mention of earlier in 1999. Ended up selling it in 2000. And
are there any other companies that you built or been a part of?
Yeah, well, Food on the Move was a restaurant delivery service that I had. And that was pretty successful. And that all came about because I was working for a company called Takeout Taxi. And then the owner, every time I would see him, I would come to him and say, look, I have an idea. We can become faster and more efficient if we do this, this, and this. So he got tired of me telling him this. So he said, well, since you have all these ideas, why don't you consider starting your own? And you know what? I looked at him, said, that's a great idea. I'm like, absolutely. So then I quit right then. And then I'm like, okay, what can I call mine? And I thought about it, and then I said, Food on the Move, because we're moving food, right? So what I did was, I was in the same area where he was, and we became competitors. And then we had a write-up in the newspapers, Washington Post, Loudoun Times, Reston Times, Herndon Times, all those newspapers, right? And they compared the two, takeout taxi versus food on the move. And the votes were in, and we were better, faster, more efficient, everything. Their delivery times were like 40-something minutes, 50 minutes, ours are 20. Customer service through the roof, theirs kind of, mediocre. The thing that helped us was technology, because they were using two-way CB radios, right? Mm-hmm. We were using cell phones at the time. That's the difference. And keep this in mind, right? This was 1992, 93, when cell phones were like $1 per minute or $1.50 per minute. But we didn't have to pay that because of my technology background. I was working with these phone companies, helping them to build an infrastructure. Mm-hmm. So they would pay me in cash, okay? But they would also pay me in minutes. So I had these buckets of minutes that I would use for my business that didn't cost me nothing. And that's how my guys were able to use cell phones, and we were able to compete with them and beat them. But I ended up selling the business because I got tired of working with all these young people that didn't want to come to work. They had no work ethic or nothing like that, right? I was young myself, right? But that's what I faced, and I got tired of it, and I sold.
That's incredible. So I just wanted to go into, everyone is going to ask you this, and it may not be important in your area, but did you graduate college?
I did not. It just wasn't, for me, really. I think that college is important if you want to be a doctor, a lawyer, or something, these specialized skills and everything. But see, I was coming along in a time where technology was ready to boom, ready to blow up. So it was like, okay, if I go to college, then I'll miss this opportunity. So I said, forget it. So I took the opportunity, got into technology, and it paid off.
Well, you're not the only one who did that. Michael Dell, we have Mark Zuckerberg, we have Bill Gates, Steve Jobs, the founders of Twitter. We have the WhatsApp founder. So many tech billionaires or people in tech that are extremely successful.
Right. But let me interrupt though. But I got to tell you, those guys, right? What do they have in common? They are all the same color. There's none of us that's in that list, right? Mm-hmm. But I'm planning to be the first to get in that list because I am confident, not being arrogant or cocky, but I can hold my own against any one of them, just given the opportunity. And see, that's what I'm doing with OBT Social and the platforms that we have, because it's our time to stand up and to be noticed and recognized for who we are as a people, the intellect that's in us, the power that's within us.
Well, certainly seeing all that you've done and the many titles that you hold, what do you need as far as support for your business?
Well, I need the Black community to get behind it. That's really what I need. I need the Black community to get behind it. And that's in terms of users, Black investors, Black businesses, the Black church, because the platform is for us. That's what the platform is, right? And see, we don't do all this ad revenue and all that kind of stuff, because if you look at these other platforms, a lot of them, they fail or people are not happy with them because they're so focused on the advertiser. You know what I'm saying? So the advertiser runs things, not the users. But see, that's different for us.
That's wonderful. So can you tell us where we can go to see more information about your platforms? I know you have several platforms. Mm-hmm. Can you tell us about, I know you have the Back Room, I know you have several others, but can you tell us more about the Back Room?
Yeah, well, actually, the Back Room is kind of like our crown jewel, okay? So it's the most advanced technologically.
So it's different from OBT Social.
It is. See, OBT Social is the company, okay? The name of the company is OBT Social, but we do have a platform called OBT Social, which is being phased out, and we're moving all those people over to the Back Room. Okay. And we're doing that because the Back Room is more secure. You don't have to worry about trolls. It's invitation only. It's an exclusive platform. That way we control who comes into this platform, and it gives us a place where we can speak. That's why we call it the Back Room. Like when you look at Dr. Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, and all of them, right? When they talked about things, they couldn't talk about it publicly. They had to go in the back room. Harriet Tubman, you know, when she was talking about stuff, where did the conversation take place? In the back room, you know? So that's why we call this the back room, because it's a place where we can talk, we can come together and collaborate. Whether you're a church, an activist, an international attorney, a human rights defender, you can talk there and feel comfortable, and that you won't be censored or unjustly penalized for speaking the truth.
Okay, and when you say feel comfortable, you won't be censored. So what else would make people feel comfortable? Is it like, if anyone can join, why would I feel more comfortable there than OBT social or Facebook or a platform that's similar?
Right, because it's invitation only. That's one of the things that drives that comfort level. Because in order to get on the platform, you have to be invited by someone.
Okay.
And that someone who invites you, say for example, if I invited you to the platform and you got to acting up, right?
Okay.
Then the administrator will reach out to you and say, look, stop acting up. You're going against our community guidelines, and here's why. We're not going to just kick you off instantly. We're going to explain why. You know, so that's really important, because sometimes people are in the habit of doing things, but they're not the right things, and they don't know it until it's explained to them. And we're trying to raise our awareness. So that's why we do that. But at the same time, while the administrator is getting on you about you violating the community guidelines, the administrator is looking at me saying, Michael, you invited this young lady to the platform and she's getting out of hand. That's accountability on my part. I don't want to hear that. I don't want anybody coming to me talking about you getting out of hand. So what am I going to do? I'm going to come to you and say, hey, look, you need to tighten up. You know, people looking.
That's excellent. So because I know OBT social, I've been on the platform, and it's similar to Facebook. So what are the similarities? So is Backroom the same thing? It's just invite only?
Well, actually, we have all of the functionality that you find in Facebook, but then we have a lot of other features. For example, with the back room, when you're a user, you can earn points for every interaction you have with the system.
Okay.
And those points can be converted into shares, which means ownership for those people on the platform. So then when we go public, you'll have those shares. And see, that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to create that economic empowerment within the Black community globally, not just here in the United States, but globally. And no other platform is doing that. So economic empowerment is a big thing for us, and actually unifying our people. We're not trying to get all different kinds of people from all around the world. We're staying focused, because that's a problem with a lot of social media platforms now. They have to cater to their investors by just getting any and everybody that they possibly can. And then once they reach that critical mass, whereas there's nobody else to get, then they start to fall apart, because then they can't really cater to their advertisers the way that they want, because advertisers want more and more and more, you know.
So you're basically focused on, you know, our privacy as a user is important, because you're not selling it to advertisers. That's wonderful.
Right, we won't sell it, won't give it away, nothing at all. And a lot of stuff we don't even keep. If you want to store it, then that's on you. You can store it on the platform. But we're not going to store it just to data mine it later. That's something that we don't do.
And what else? There are other features. I know on OBT social, there were things that you could do to encourage people to post more useful content, like the tipping system.
Right, exactly. We have a tipping system, and that tipping system is in the back room, whereas when you post something that's positive, informative, educational, funny, because although we're somewhat of a serious platform, we're a funny platform where you can joke and laugh and all of that, right? But we just don't want it to overtake everything else. There's enough joking and laughing and, you know, shucking and jiving and all that kind of stuff on these other platforms. We don't need all of that, right? But it's cool sometimes.
But the point is to empower and uplift our people.
Right, that's what we need. That's exactly what we need. So that the ability to get a tip, that's positive reinforcement. You know, it's like you ever see like a dog, for example, right? If you give him some nuggets, right? Every time he does something good, he's gonna keep doing the same thing. He's gonna mimic that behavior that got him those little nuggets. People are the same. You know, I hate to use a dog, but you know what I mean. So that's the best way to put it. It's that positive reinforcement of the dollar and coins and all that, of being able to earn some money.
So anything to encourage our people to post empowering and uplifting content. I love that.
Yeah.
So all of that said, where do we go? I want to sign up. Can I get on the Play Store and download the app? What do I do as a user to get started?
Oh, look, let me tell you about the Play Store and all that kind of stuff, right? Now, I don't want nothing to do with them, for real. And they started the whole thing, but I'm going to end up, using them anyway. But the story is this. With Our Black Truth, okay, that was the name that we used, the full name, like what's on my shirt, Our Black Truth. Mm-hmm. They censored us so many times on that platform because, like on Google Play, because they didn't like the whole Our Black Truth. They took our app down 5 different times. Wow. For dumb reasons that made no sense. But it was only because it was a black platform. So then we decided, okay, we're going to change the name to OBT Social. Once we did that, it slid under the radar. But then somehow they, connected the two and wanted to remove us again. So then we found a way to bypass Google Play and Apple. So that's what we're doing right now. You can download the app directly from our website.
And what is that?
But, okay, having a website ain't gonna help you none. And I'll tell you why.
Okay.
It's invitation only. It's an exclusive platform. So what you do is you have to check around and see if your family and friends, any of them are on the platform, for them to give you an invitation. And if not, then what you do is you can message us, or should I say email us, right? Or actually, better yet, just go to our website. You can go to invitation.thebackroom.social. That's invitation.thebackroom.social. And that's a invitation form. So you complete the invitation form, and once you complete that, then we'll review it and then get back in touch with you to see if we can grant you that invitation. There's only a certain number of invitations that we're going to do like that.
Okay.
And and we're selective because it's all about making sure that we get the best people on the platform that have a common interest, and that common interest is uplifting our people and helping our people.
So for a limited amount of time, so this won't always be available. People can go in and go to invite.thebackroom.social. Invitation.backroom.social.
Right, exactly.
And fill out the form, and then if you approve, then you can start inviting other people.
Right, you'll get on the platform and then you can start inviting other people. But you will be held accountable if they get to messing up and all that kind of stuff. Accountability is big, and we need that in our community.
Okay, but I know you, so I can go sign up right now.
Oh, absolutely. Okay. I ain't got no choice. Got to hook you up.
Okay, so this is wonderful. So I know there's so much to cover. Do we have time to cover your other platforms? I know you have several other platforms.
Yeah, we do. So basically we have OBT Social, which is like our version of Facebook. Then we have HBCC, which is Historically Black Content Creators. That's like YouTube. Then we have Umoja. Umoja is a SMS platform that allows us to send text messages to any country pretty much in the world within 5 seconds. See, we need our own communication system, and see, this is it. When I went to the NAACP and asked them about it, they had no way to communicate with black people. Urban League, same thing. None of these organizations have a way to communicate with black people. The answers are typically, oh, we'll use Facebook. Facebook will cut you off. They cut us off all the time. Then I had one guy tell me, oh, well, I'll just send a letter. A letter in the event of emergency? Like, do you know what an emergency means? That means something that needs to be addressed right away, and you're going to send a letter? So those kind of responses I get, but we built that platform so that we can communicate. And then we have our own version of Spotify, and it's called Sounder. We also have Imager. We have Elimu.
Okay.
And that's an e-learning platform. And we also have Sakona. Sakona is our own version of Zoom. And we're actually going to be incorporating that into the back room so that when you're in the back room, you can create a Zoom conference instantly without scheduling. And then
a Sakona conference, you mean?
A Sakona conference. That's right. You got me. I like that.
Okay, so I'm going to need a list of all of those platforms, but it definitely is a way for us to communicate effectively. And it looks like you cover everything.
Yeah, we do. It was designed to be a full communication system for the entire continent, the diaspora, and the United States for our people. So that's what we need.
Okay, so you have so much more that I want to discuss, but we don't have time to cover everything. But I want to thank you so much for coming on and sharing all that you've shared.